Welcome, jesters. No, we have not forgotten about Iryna Zarutska, the young lady who was killed by Democrat policies in Charlotte a few weeks ago. But this time I want to talk about something that I think I've only heard one person sort of passively mention, and that's the effect on transit. Yes, she was killed on a light rail train in Charlotte. And I just want to remind all of my friends on the left, especially all of the transit weenies, that this is probably the worst thing that could ever happen to you. Transit in the United States has been a rather bleak topic for a long time. And it's not because we're addicted to oil or anything like that. It's just because the United States is a very big place and we like our cars. We don't like to be restricted into places that the government or some other agency wants us to go. We do appreciate our freedom. That doesn't mean we can't have good transit, but it's not something that the government can provide. And I'm not really concerned because I don't really care in a way, but the Iryna Zarutska situation is probably going to be the hardest thing for you to overcome in a very, very long time. People are already scared, or were already scared, to ride public transit. Again, because of Democrat policies. It has a reputation in most large cities, most large blue cities, which is where all the transit seems to be, for being dangerous and unclean and full of criminals. And while you might be able to take a few rides here and there, like from downtown to midtown in Manhattan, and not have a problem, that is simply not the case for the vast majority of places. And while you can statistically say that per rider crime is down, well, somehow what they always say, it is still in way unacceptable territory. And it has gotten worse. I worked in New York a long time ago, immediately after Giuliani, and things were different back then. You could ride the subway and not worry. These days, there are constantly reports of people who don't feel safe on the subway. I saw the videos a few months ago of people standing up against the wall because they did not want to get pushed onto the track. And this is a problem that the current transit methodology here in the United States cannot solve. And it's because transit is unfortunately run in almost every case by the government. That is the biggest problem with transit in this country. It is something that the government can't do. Well, the government can't do many things, and they definitely cannot do transit. Yet when I point out to all the transit weenies, mostly on YouTube, that transit should be profitable, it should make money, it should prove itself as a valuable contribution to society by making a profit, yeah, I'm routinely, dismissed as some, crazy capitalist pig who doesn't care about the poor and blah, blah, blah. Yet we continue to see the transit systems and train systems, Amtrak, CN, continue to deteriorate, and all they can ever cry about is funding. Yes, I do sometimes find watching transit and train videos on YouTube amusing, not because they're particularly informative, but the transit weenies, they do the same thing over and over again. They complain about the state of transit in this country. They complain about the agencies, the government agencies that run transit. They whine about the lack of funding, but then the only solution they ever propose is lack of funding for the same incompetent agencies that have destroyed transit in the first place. And now, after Iryna Zarutska, well, what are they going to do? They're probably going to experience even less ridership, even less revenue. But here's the thing. Because they're government agencies, they're just going to go whining back to the politicians saying, give me money, give me more taxpayer money to bail them out. They don't have to change. Why would they? Even after this tragedy, they don't have to change because they will continue to get bailed out. But I will use this opportunity to remind you that tragedy, what happened a few weeks ago in Charlotte, Iryna Zarutska would still be with us if that transit system had to make money, if it was expected to turn a profit. Because if it was run like any normal business in this country, they would actually have to care about their customers. They would have to care about the safety of their customers. And one easy way to do that is to make sure you collect the fare. This creep got on the train, didn't pay the fare, like none of them ever do, and she is dead. If they merely enforced the fares, if they merely engaged in any rudimentary revenue protection, if they had an evil profit motive and made sure they collected that fare, he wouldn't have been on that train. Now, I've not heard any reports, but I am willing to wager that she paid the fare. Because I imagine she was a good person. She paid the fare. He did not. If they were interested in actually making money and providing a good service for which they would get paid, she would have finished her ride and he would not have been there. That is what a profit-motivated business has to do. It has to protect itself, it has to protect its customers, because it has to protect its long-term business value. A private company that needs to make money can't just go back to whatever daddy government and get a bailout, like the Charlotte Light Rail is no doubt going to do. They're not going to change a thing. They're going to continue to let the criminals board and the fare-paying citizens who might need that service be menaced. That is what you get with government transit. There's no reason it has to be this way. Transit can and should make money. And then people will start riding it. Then a lot of people will start riding it. You know I'm right.